Good evening, everybody. Brian Neubert here from goldenblack.com, live in the VIP seating here at Chrysler Center in Ann Arbor, Michigan, right outside section 223, as you can tell, following Purdue's 84-78 double overtime loss to Michigan. I have no idea what the score was. A lot of things happened down the stretch of this game, all kind of blurring together. I forgot the score. I had to look. How many overtimes has Purdue played this season now? What is it, 5? Really eventful game, much like the Minnesota game a couple days ago. The complete opposite of the Illinois game a few days earlier. And that's the first thing I want to talk about was simply, I guess, the intangible takeaways people should have gotten from this about Purdue. You know, Purdue looked on Sunday broken, intimidated, like an utter no-show Sunday at Illinois, who's a good team, not a great team, tough place to play, not an impossible place to play. Purdue just looked out of it, and you kind of wondered if this team was going to be able to function on the road in a season when the road team is not doing anything in the Big Ten, whoever that road team may be. You just wanted to see Purdue compete more than anything. If Purdue won, awesome. That would have been great for Purdue. Obviously, a huge win, signature win, resume win, all of that stuff. But you have to start somewhere. And Purdue's not been very good on the road this season. And the path to a turnaround lied simply in competing. And I think that was the biggest thing that comes out of this game for Purdue, because they fought like hell. They really did. You know, obviously, you get a performance for the ages from Trevion Williams, but you also get a coming-of-age sort of performance from Isaiah Thompson. See how I got age into two different adjectives? Those things really helped, obviously, but the baseline for it all, too, was simply Purdue showing up, Purdue competing. And look, it isn't just, Purdue taking the lead back however many times it did after it lost it in a game with 17 lead changes. But look, Michigan scores the first 9 points of the second overtime. Game is over, right? It is over. The home team scores the first 9 points of an overtime. That game is over. 99 times out of 100, that game is over. Purdue obviously didn't win, never got tied, never retook the lead, anything like that. But it still got it down to 4, too. And when Purdue was down in a 9-0 hole in that second overtime, basically, you kind of wondered, oh, geez, Purdue's going to lose this game by 15 points now, because you were on that slippery slope. The buzzsaw was spinning, and, Purdue's nose was right up against it. And to Purdue's credit, in the most dire of situations this game presented, Purdue still got this down 4 in the last minute, when miracles can happen, crazy things can happen. And Michigan wasn't making its free throws. You have to give Purdue a lot of credit in that situation and throughout this entire game, simply for competing. The effort seemed really good. The circumstances seemed not so good, because Purdue did this for the final 30 minutes of basketball that was played here, plus without Matt Harms, who, obviously you saw what Purdue looked like against Butler. Without Matt Harms, I think he would have made an enormous difference in that game. Not necessarily saying Purdue would have won, but I think it would have been a very, very different game. You saw what happened after he got his concussion at Nebraska. The wheels literally came off. They were flying everywhere. He is a really important player. I know didn't have a good game at Illinois. He hadn't scored before he got hurt here tonight. For whatever scoring's worth, there is more to basketball than just scoring. But I think he would have made a real difference after halftime in this game as well. Had Purdue been able to have him out there defensively down the stretch, Xavier Simpson does not get to the rim at will. At the very least, he has something 7'3" standing in his way, threatening to block his shot. Defensively, Purdue would have been much better in winning time. That being said, if Matt Harms is out there, maybe Trevion Williams doesn't touch the ball every single time Purdue comes down the floor. Perhaps Trevion Williams doesn't have 36 points, and perhaps you're never in this position in the first place. You don't know. If you could have Trevion Williams' offensive productivity and Matt Harms' defensive presence, I think Purdue might win this game. But it didn't, and that's just more the circumstance Purdue overcame here, which makes this an equally impressive performance, even in defeat for Purdue. Obviously this game is not a game without a remarkable game from Trevion Williams. This is what, Purdue saw flashes of last season. This is what Purdue has seen flashes of in practice, and this is why Matt Painter's public comments on Trevion Williams tend to skew toward the more demanding range of the spectrum. I don't want to say negative, but he talks a lot about his conditioning. He talks a lot about his defense, this and that, things he has to get better at before he talks about things he's already really good at. Because he knows what Trevion Williams is capable of, and now everyone does. Because everyone watching this game on FS1, everybody in Chrysler Center tonight, all of you now know exactly what Trevion Williams is capable of. This was a dominant performance against a really, really good big guy. John Teske, in a league full of really good big men, is a senior and probably one of the top 5 guys in the league at his position, if not even better than that. He is really, really good, and Trevion Williams ate his lunch today, at least on the offensive end. Teske obviously did a lot of positive things as well for his team, but 36-20 in a head-to-head meeting with Teske is pretty good. In how many minutes did Trevion Williams play? 43:39. That is more than a full college basketball game played by the 260-pound Trevion Williams, who didn't play 43 minutes over 2 games very often last season. Just a tremendous performance by Trevion Williams. 36 points, 20 rebounds. Don't forget about the assist on the 3 to Jahad Proctor. That was a huge play for Purdue, an enormous play. The Michigan guys were asking me whether or not Trevion Williams can pass because they're wondering why Michigan wasn't doubling the post. Michigan probably doesn't do it systematically. You don't just double the post. You have to have a whole system in place to do it. Michigan probably doesn't. But yeah, he can pass. He's an elite passer, too, for a big guy. And you saw it on that Jahad Proctor three-pointer. A much-needed shot for him. Unfortunately for Purdue, the three-pointer for Aaron Wheeler that he needed just as badly as Jahad Proctor needed that 3 to go in went in and out. You have to really feel really bad for Aaron Wheeler because that shot was down. That was a 3-point lead for Purdue with less than 2 minutes to go in, the first overtime, second overtime. They've all run together. Doesn't matter. That shot would have been huge for Purdue. It did not go. But Trevion Williams' step-back three-pointer late in regulation did, so I guess things kind of even out a little bit. You're not really expecting Trevion Williams to make that shot. I will tell you this. He practices the hell out of that shot. The half-court shot he took against Minnesota, he practices the hell out of that, too. It's not outside the realm of possibility to see through the course of his career Trevion Williams step outside a little bit, be able to make the three-pointer occasionally, but he does work on it a lot. As Eric Hunter joked, that's an after-practice shot, that's a before-practice shot, it's not a during-practice shot. But sometimes they say in certain situations you just go out there and you just be an athlete, you just react to the situation, you shoot it, goes in. Probably doesn't go in for Trevion Williams if he doesn't kind of mess around, at least dabble in that shot here and there. But good for him. That was a huge shot. Made you really think, hey, this is Purdue's night. And then Aaron Wheeler's 3 later goes in and out, and it wasn't Purdue's night. But it was a hell of a night anyway. And another big part of why it was a hell of a night was obviously Isaiah Thompson. Sometimes you need special performances from guys to win games like this, and this qualified for Isaiah Thompson. The 12 points he scored in the first 6 minutes, whatever it was, of the second half, qualified as that special performance, an absolute game changer for Purdue. They needed somebody to step up offensively. They lost an all Big Ten caliber big guy in Matt Harms. They replaced him in the starting 5 to start the second half with a generously listed at 6'1" scoring guard, and it changed the game. It completely turned things around in Purdue's favor on top of what Trevion Williams was doing. Huge game for Isaiah Thompson. We'll see if he can build on it now. Purdue is not loaded with backcourt scores. Eric Hunter can do some really positive things. Obviously, Sasha Stefanovic is a shooter. Wouldn't call him a playmaker necessarily, but he's a shooter. You don't really have a whole lot of playmakers. Nogel Eastern's a forward playing guard, basically, and being used in their offense as a forward, essentially. So when you look at backcourt scoring, he practices sometimes with the centers to give you an idea of where he fits into Purdue's offensive mix in terms of what they try to get done with him. Purdue could use guys who can do things off the dribble, a little bit of quickness, a little bit of pull-up game from mid-range. Jahad Proctor's obviously been struggling lately from a mid-range perspective, from an every perspective lately. Isaiah Thompson can make a shot. He looked really good making his free throws in a tough environment tonight. If this is a sign of him trending in this direction, that can be a real difference maker for Purdue from an offensive perspective. Tonight it certainly was, because he changed the game for Purdue. Really helped give them a chance to win this game. Interesting to see now, Purdue's a different team at home, but it should go back home feeling pretty good about itself here. The effort was good. The effort needs to carry over. Michigan State is always a team you have to play the hardest you've ever played in your life, typically to stay on the floor with. But Purdue's shots tend to go in Mackey Arena. I think the last thing you want to do before you play Michigan State is play a double overtime game on a Thursday night before you play Michigan State on Sunday, but be that as it may. It was a good night for Purdue, even in defeat. Now they get right back at it. For their sake, they'll hope Matt Harms is healthy. Who knows? We don't really know a whole lot. Purdue's got to get its legs back under it. I'm sure Trevion Williams has probably taken a couple of deep breaths after this game. Again, 43 minutes and 39 seconds is NBA minutes. We'll see what Purdue's got Sunday against Michigan State. They should go into it feeling pretty good about themselves because they really represented themselves much better than they had been. They showed they're capable of winning games like this. And this is how last season turned. They won a game like this at Wisconsin. Later, they won a game like this at Ohio State. Tonight, they showed they're capable. And, they will get some more cracks at this. Maryland, Rutgers, who's good this year. I can't believe I'm saying that. Purdue showed it's capable of winning these games. On Sunday at Illinois, it looked like an impossibility. But tonight, it looked very real, and Purdue very easily could have won this game. Not very easily, but this could have gone either way in a lot of different ways. So that's what I got. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, everybody, for reading. I'm getting them out of order. For goldenblack.com, this is Brian Neubert from the Chrysler Center in Ann Arbor, Michigan, following Purdue's 84-78 double overtime loss to Michigan. We'll talk to you again Sunday from Mackey Arena after Purdue plays Michigan State. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.